Now that we want to know more about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, let's try to know how he treated different people in his life. Many of us think of love as grand gestures, poetic words, or fleeting moments of passion. But the truest and most enduring love is found in the quiet consistency of kindness, patience, and care, especially within the home. And now the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was the most influential man in history, he was also the most loving husband, father, and grandfather. His love was not distant, nor was it merely expressed in words. It was alive in his actions, his attentiveness, and his deep emotional intelligence. Now one evening, after a long day of calling people to Allah, teaching and leading, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam returned home to Aisha radiallahu anha. But instead of resting, he smiled at her and challenged her to a race. Can you imagine? The most powerful man of his time racing in the sand with his wife. She ran with all her might and she won. Years later, after Aisha radiallahu anha had really matured now, he challenged her again. This time he won, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and with a playful glint in his eye, he said, "This one makes up for the last one." And this was love, not just expressed in words, but in companionship, in shared moments, and in laughter. And this was bringing joy into his home, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And how often do we make our loved ones laugh? How often do we share moments with our loved ones? At a time when men were expected to dominate the household, the Prophet ﷺ set a revolutionary example. He helped with chores, mended his own clothes, and milked his own goat. He never saw himself as above his family members. Instead, he was always with them, supporting them. One day, Aisha radiallahu anha was asked, what did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam do at home? And she replied, he was in the service of his family, but when the call to prayer came, he would leave for prayer. So in this we see the balance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet was the best in his worship, yet he was also the best in his home. So are we present in our homes, or do we get lost in our own worlds, treating our family as an afterthought? Because this was not the case with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one of the most beautiful examples of his love when it came to his family, Fatima radiallahu anha, his beloved daughter, was so cherished that whenever she entered a room, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would stand up for her, kiss her forehead, and sit her in his place. What kind of father does that? One whose love knows no arrogance. And now the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was our greatest teacher, not just in faith, but in love. His home was filled with warmth, laughter, and respect. And so we must ask ourselves, are we kind and patient with our families? Do we cherish them? Do we make time for them as the Prophet did? Because if we claim to love him, we must also strive to love as he loved.